What's going on with Iowa State?
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball, your number one sports podcast network, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm here with Golden State Valkyries analyst Sophia Jones. I'm Clea Butler, the sideline reporter for the Chicago Sky, and we have plenty to talk about today, especially with NCAA games. We're going to go over some ranked games to watch coming up that should be good ones. The Wooden Award watch list, as we are in the middle of the season now. But first, we have to go over some of the top 25 action that happened last night. And the one that hurt me the most was number 11, Iowa State, losing to Cincinnati 71-63. That's why I posed the question, what is going on with Iowa State? Because Cincinnati earned its first win over a ranked opponent since 2011. For their team, Mya Perry led the Bearcats with 26 points. And I feel like the first person you're going to look forward to on Iowa State and the Cyclones is obviously Audi Crooks, who still had a double-double, 23 points, 10 rebounds. Jada Williams adding 13 points and 7 assists. But it still just wasn't enough to overcome Cincinnati. And this is a big loss for Iowa State, obviously coming off a loss to Baylor, but that's at least against a ranked opponent. They're ranked 22. You can bounce back from that. However, losing to a below 500 team who hasn't had the strongest season in general, now it starts to spark a question of what's not necessarily clicking, dropping these back-to-backs.
And last game specifically for Iowa State, I felt like their biggest Achilles heel was their shooting. They only shot 36% on the game, 19% from three. They're a 4 of 21. So when you're not connecting shooting-wise, all the attention and all the defense's eyes can just be focused on Audi Crooks. She still had the 23 points, 10 rebounds, pretty efficient there, but outside of her, it was rather inefficient when it came to Iowa State. And Cincinnati was just extremely scrappy that game. They had great bench and crowd energy that really fueled them. And they looked like the more aggressive and confident team. Iowa State, they got sped up, looked a little frantic at times, especially in the third and fourth quarter when the game was still very, very winnable for the Cyclones. But Cincinnati just forced them to do a lot of undisciplined things down the stretch, just like fouling three-point shooters, giving up offensive rebounds, and not having the greatest shot selection. So this was definitely a game that I think Cincinnati earned through their grit.
Cincinnati also out-rebounded Iowa State 44-30. We know what a great rebounding team Iowa State is too, but when we're talking about some of those disciplined aspect of things that gave Cincinnati extra possessions, defensively just didn't look as disciplined as they have been before, and maybe that's something we started to see loom over them against Baylor and then carried over into Cincinnati. But this obviously poses the question in terms of ranking. Obviously, you don't want to get too bought into that early on in the season. They're still at number 11 for the week, but they've now dropped to 2-2 in conference play. They are one of the most dominant teams within the Big 12. And obviously, if you look at face value, just between a Jada Williams and Audi Crooks, you expect a lot from this team. And after their last time out, Audi Crooks said that you don't want to be playing your best basketball right now. You want to be playing your best basketball in March. But you hope that they can get past some of these shooting woes. As you mentioned, they only shot 36% from the field and 19% from three-point range. So when you're struggling to score consistently, you're getting out-rebounded, and you're not responding to the pressure of Cincinnati very well. Again, still below 500 team, not to discredit the means, but you have to it's not going to get any easier for you within the Big 12. So what are the quick that you can figure out right now so that you don't continue on a losing streak?
Yeah, I would say the biggest adjustment just needs to improve their sole reliance on Audi Crooks. You need to make sure that as a unit you are clicking well, because it's only when as a unit they're clicking well that Audi Crooks makes the most winnable plays. Because otherwise that defense is just going to sag off of everyone, crowd the paint, not even let the ball get into Crooks to let her go to work.
Absolutely. Moving on a little bit here, we still got plenty of more games to cover. Ohio State and Illinois was a thriller. Number 19, Ohio State beat Illinois 78-69 in that game. Jaloni Cambridge, 41 points, which was a career high for her. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, just 29 points in the second half. Snapped Illinois' 10-game home streak, but also did it in front of A'ja Wilson. And that was clearly the biggest highlight for her because she was all smiles all around. Everyone was getting their A'ja Wilson shoes signed. They were taking pictures afterwards. So being able to do that in front of somebody that you really look up to too, really fun one. But also, why was A'ja Wilson in Champaign, Illinois? That's the part that threw me off most. I was like, why wouldn't you let me know?
Exactly. But with Cambridge, she has been playing outstanding the whole year. She's been the Buckeyes' just the main offensive generator, and that was on total showcase last game. So another pretty resume boosting game for Ohio State also, because Illinois, they were sitting in the others receiving votes category in the AP poll. They just coming off of a huge win against Maryland. So you mentioned the home game winning streak also. So this was a really good one for them to snag and just prove why the Big Ten is so competitive.
Another one, number 17, Texas Tech beat West Virginia 71-66. And Texas Tech is really continuing to show that they might be one of the more dominant teams within the Big 12 right now. To my understanding, they're still undefeated, and they just kind of keep climbing the ranks within the AP polls.
Exactly. They continue to put together good showcases and climb the AP poll. And they're actually alone currently in first place in the Big 12. You're correct. They are undefeated. So they are the team to beat in that conference right now. But the end of the game, it was very, very close. Looked like West Virginia held the lead for a little bit, but Texas Tech pulled off a major defensive stand and just did enough on offense to pull ahead late after being in that deficit. And towards the end, they just were the more physical team, and they had more refined hustle. Sometimes people associate hustle with being a little out of control, but they put a little bow on that I think really helped them to win the game.
TCU back in the winning column, defeating Oklahoma State 69-61. TCU currently in that number 13 spot. Olivia Miles, 20 points, 8 assists and 6 rebounds. TCU scored the last 9 points to close out the game, and OSU got held to a season low 61 and really struggled from deep. They were 4 of 22. TCU showing that they can get it done offensively, obviously through Olivia Miles, but really strong defensive stance too, holding Oklahoma State, who has been in the top 25 rankings, to a season low.
Exactly. TCU, they were riding such a high. So this was a much needed bounce back win for them. Oklahoma State is not an opponent that just rolls over, but Olivia Miles, she played 39 minutes in that game. So she has just been the primary facilitator on both ends of the floor for TCU. There was a play at the end of the game where she got the rebound and then she just threw a full baseball full court pass for her teammate to get the layup when it was wide open, just to kind of seal the game for them. And that essentially encapsulated what Olivia Miles does for her team and why they won that game.
We love a dual athlete. Last game we want to bring up within the Big East. UConn doing UConn things and tearing through the Big East right now with an 88-43 victory over St. John's. In that game, Sarah Strong had 24 points, 6 steals, 5 assists. AZ Fudd, 16 points, and was perfect from the free throw line. And also KK Arnold added 11 points, 6 steals. They forced 33 turnovers and scored 46 points off of them.
Yeah, I think the day that we have to worry about UConn in the Big East is, I don't even know if it's ever going to happen, but this was just another pretty straightforward game by UConn. You had great individual performances, great team performance, and they continue to remain undefeated and continue to show why they are currently the standard in NCAA women's basketball.
Absolutely the standard. Like Chelsea Gray, the standard is championships. Obviously, UConn coming off a championship. But coming up after this, we are going to go over the Wooden mid-season top 25 watch list. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when I was paying for subscriptions that I completely about, and it's already saved me plenty of money. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you. But sometimes it isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back by giving you an outside perspective on your motivations and relationships. That's why BetterHelp is such a helpful part. They help match you with the therapist based on your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all the legwork on your own. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/NBA. That's betterhelp.com/NBA. Okay, Wooden mid-season top 25 watch list. There are a lot of names on here. A lot that can potentially be the player of the year, essentially, within college basketball. I don't think I'm going to read through all 25 of the names. We're going to go through and maybe give our favorites as well as some of our dark horses. So, Sophia, from this list, give me your top 2 to 3 favorites.
I mean, sometimes the easy choice is the obvious choice, or I forget how the saying goes, but I think Sarah Strong has to be the clear favorite right now. Best player on the best team. She is averaging 18 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3.6 steals. I mean, 1.5 blocks. She's shooting 60%, also shooting 44% from 3, averaging about 4 attempts per game. So she's just putting together such a complete game. And you look at how dominant UConn is, and you look at how she is kind of at the helm of that, I think that she would most likely be my favorite for this year's award. But even on the same team, I would throw in AZ Fudd, because with the type of numbers that she is throwing in and putting together, we've seen her really grow this season in her consistency, especially. UConn has had enough tests that these numbers aren't necessarily inflated, but you look at 18 points, throwing in 49%, shooting 48 or 49% from 3, 100% from the free throw line. These are just really solid numbers. I think those two, you could honestly pick whoever, because again, UConn best players on the best team in the country. Another player I think It's difficult because honestly, before last game for Iowa State, I would have put Audi Crooks into that conversation because she really looks like the most single-handedly dominant player where you give her the ball and she just goes to work every single time, averaging 29.7 rebounds, 69% field goal shooting. But after that last win, because you definitely do have to factor in the strength of the team, I can see Iowa State still picking it back up, but it's going to take some work.
I agree with you. I think all of the players that you mentioned were also players that I was going to mention in terms of Sarah Strong. Even Paige Beckers was asked at Unrivaled who her GOATs were essentially in college basketball, and she could pick any time period. I believe the only player that she chose that has been within the past couple of years of her was Sarah Strong. She said, I have to put her on my basically Mount Rushmore of overall college basketball players. So it's hard to deny that she is one of the most elite NCAA players right now and has the potential only as a sophomore to win the player of the year. I mean, she's leading in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. And doing so at her size is crazy. These are numbers that you see maybe guards put up, whatever the case may be. She has just been such a versatile player for UConn, like just somebody that you compare looking back to Nafisa Collier or Brianna Stewart. I think once she gets through UConn, she is going to be one of those names that people look up to. So Sarah Strong's definitely high up on my list. AZ Fudd, I mean, UConn, when you have just some of the best players within college basketball, and her shooting is just so efficient. She's nearly at 50% from the field and the three. That's hard to also not consider. I would also throw Madison Booker into the conversation. I think she's been incredibly consistent for Texas. You also talk about that versatility as a forward, as I was comparing to Sarah Strong. Texas is ranked number 2 right under UConn, and you're talking about, some of the best players on the best teams. You have to consider Madison Booker in that conversation. But I think maybe a dark horse, if you will, to throw in there. I really like what I've seen from Michaela Blakes. I think as we continue to go through the season, and if she keeps putting up these 30 and 40 plus point performances, a sophomore All-American leading her team in scoring and kind of really putting Vanderbilt on the map. I think if you take her away from this roster, it's a completely different look for the team. She's in, like I mentioned, she's put up multiple 30-point performances so far this season. She is a player that completely switches a game. And I think you saw in LSU, she went a good 10 minutes without scoring, still finished the game with 35 points. Those are just players that you look to, and she's still so young, an underclassman, but can completely switch a game and get that done for her team, and already showing maturity and leadership. And on top of it, Vanderbilt is performing, obviously beating a top 5 opponent at the time, breaking a record in terms of them not doing that for years on end. She is one that I would throw into my consideration.
I definitely think that she definitely, I think, has to be that dark horse candidate. Just like you mentioned, she is very much responsible, almost majority responsible for Vanderbilt's success. Right now, she's one of the leading scorers in the country. And like you said, just really puts Vanderbilt on her back. And for that team to be performing as well as it is currently, I think only boosts her credit and case even more. I think also when we're looking at some of the top teams and who are considered some of those leaders, you have to look at what Lauren Betts has done for UCLA so far this season. UCLA have one of the best records, and records tied to strength of schedule this year. And they only have 1 loss, which is really, really impressive. If they can continue this in the Big Ten, they could really cement themselves. But she, of course, is at the center of that team, averaging 16 points, also 2.1 blocks. So corner piece of the offense and defense.
So many names to consider and get to, and only so much amount of time to do so. But those are some of our top players that we are considering, but still so many more to get to on the list. But coming up after this, there are some more exciting ranked games today that you need to know about.
Fridays already feel better during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before games is tip-off. Every Friday night before the games tip-off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. And going back to our conversation about the Wooden Award watch list, in the FanDuel Sportsbook, Sarah Strong is currently a minus 125 favorite to win that award. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. I don't like paying rent, and I bet you don't either, but Built makes it feel a little better. Built is a loyalty program for renters that rewards your monthly points and exclusive benefits in your neighborhood. Let me explain. With Built, every rent payment earns you points that can be used towards flights, hotels, Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchases, and so much more. And here's something I'm really excited about. Starting in February, Built members can earn points on mortgage payments for the first time. Soon, you'll be able to get rewarded wherever you live and unlock exclusive benefits with more than 45,000 restaurants, fitness studios, pharmacies, and other neighborhood partners. Personally, I redeem my points for Core Power because they talk about stuff in your neighborhood, and I live about 3 blocks away from one. So love my yoga, love my hot yoga specifically because it's getting really, really cold in this winter. So it's simple. Paying rent is better with Built, and soon owning a home will be better with Built too. Earning rewards and get something back wherever you live. Join the loyalty program for renters at joinbuilt.com/lockedonwomen. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonwomen. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you.
All right, some more top 25 matchups to look forward to tonight, because luckily for you, you get to keep watching women's basketball and you get to keep watching competitive games. What a treat. Number 18, Ole Miss going up against number 5, Oklahoma. Ole Miss right now, 14-3 record, 1-1 in the SEC. Oklahoma, 14-1 record, 2-0 in SEC play. The Sooners are on a 9-0 win streak on their home court. The Oklahoma is the SEC leader with 48 rebounds per game, led by Reagan Beers, who's averaging 10, and she is going to be a significant part in today's matchup.
Definitely. Ole Miss, they have some really great length and physicality. So Reagan Beers needs to be at the center of what Oklahoma does on both ends of the floor and really make her presence known in the interior. But Oklahoma has been on such a tear recently. Their only loss came against UCLA back in November, if I'm correct. And just with the current winning streak that they're on, they have looked extremely dominant, extremely explosive on both ends of the floor. And for the Rebels, they rank 4th in the SEC, giving up about 54 points while holding opponents to 38% shooting. So they're going to want to pride themselves on their defense because Oklahoma scores about 94 points per a game. So there's a really big gap in between those numbers right there. But Oklahoma has another chance to really boost their resume. And Ole Miss, they have the opportunity to go in and quite frankly get an upset, because I would qualify and characterize this if they win as an upset and continue to make their presence known in the SEC.
Obviously, Oklahoma really climbing in the ranks. LSU used to be sitting at that number 5 spot. They took it over. Also led by Aaliyah Chavez, who is scoring 18 points per game, almost 19, and averaging 4 rebounds for the Sooners. We've talked about her not being afraid to shoot the ball. Essentially, everything is green for the freshman. But when you're averaging 19 points per game, she's had pretty efficient scoring showings. I think she's also going to be another really driving force for Oklahoma.
Definitely. And it's just that dynamic between having Beers on the interior and Chavez on the perimeter, who can also score at 3 levels. That really helps to balance out Oklahoma's offense. And then just surrounding players are also really great athletes and slashers that make the entire offensive flow and rhythm extremely dynamic.
Who can we look out for on Ole Miss?
It would definitely be Cody McMahon. She's averaging 19 points, 5.5 rebounds. She is the centerpiece, another really explosive player that has great touch and around the mid-range and rim area. So she's going to be the primary enforcer for Ole Miss.
Another matchup today, number 15, Michigan State is going up against number 23, Washington. This is the first meeting in Seattle between the two programs, and this is the first trip west that Michigan State is going to have to take for Big Ten play so far. Michigan State comes in at a 14-1 overall record. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten. They're riding a 6-game winning streak and averaging 83 points per game while only allowing 60 points per game over that span.
Michigan State is another one of those teams that has really crept their way up these rankings slow and steady, but they put together a really solid resume. They beat Illinois last game, beat Indiana, also defeating Ole Miss earlier this season. So they've definitely had a solid season and schedule so far, but this will be a great test against Washington, who is coming off of that win against Michigan. So major confidence boost. It shot them back into the AP poll, which a place that they've kind of flopped in and out of, but they'll be at home again. And they have an opportunity to, same thing like I mentioned yesterday about USC. You want to protect home floor because travel can get a little sticky when you're going West Coast to the Midwest and East Coast. So this is going to be a really important win or important game for them to snag.
Yeah, Washington ranked second in the Big Ten in scoring defense, allowing roughly 54 points per game. So this is going to be a battle of the scoring defenses today as well, too, in this West Coast matchup. For the Spartans, Grace Van Sluten is their leading scorer, averaging 14 points per game. Who can we look out for the Huskies?
For the Huskies, I would say Savia Sellers, she's their leading scorer, but also Avery Howell, who is second on the team in scoring and leads rebounds. So really has that two-way play going for her.
Going to be a couple of fun ones today, but that'll do it for us on Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're excited to keep you